We have Jen Brady, our zoning official, and we have Sally Broussard, our stenographer. Is Karen on the? Karen, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, great. Our attorney, Karen Browning. And I'll let the rest of the board introduce themselves.
Bob Lamoureux. Robert Closter. Steve Philippi.
And I'd like to remind the board to talk into the microphones when you have questions or anything. Okay, I'm going to just go through the hearings that we aren't going forward for the evening, just so if people are here for them. If people are here for some of the hearings that are scheduled for the evening, we have some that aren't going forward, so you don't sit here all night waiting. The first hearing that is not going forward is the Block Island Housing Board, Plat 18, Lot 2-3. They requested a continuance, so we are scheduling them for the August meeting?
August 23rd.
The August 23rd meeting. I'll make a motion to schedule that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The second continuance is Clifford Gumkowski and Judith Ciara, Plat 3, Lot 84 off Corn Neck Road. This is an application for a special use permit under Article 3, Section 306E, Article 4, Sections 401 and 406 to construct a single-family dwelling with 6 bedrooms, an accessory residential structure, and an outdoor kitchen. They're requesting a continuance as they're not through the planning stages, I'm guessing?
Joe?
And we're asking till September.
September, okay. So I'll make a motion to schedule this to the September
Second.
27th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's it, right? Everything else is going forward, just those two not.
Sally,
Housing
Block
Board.
Island Housing and Gumkowski.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, on to applications. The first application of the evening is Mark Masiello, Plat 15, Lot 132, Fire Number 997, Old Dunn Road. It's a one-year extension of the zoning decision dated July 28, 2022 for an application for a variance from Sections 306C to demolish an existing single-family dwelling and 2 sheds. Construct a single-family dwelling, accessory residential structure, pool, accessory structure, gym, accessory structure, studio, and an accessory structure.
He's not been able to get it built for expense reasons and other reasons. He's getting close, but another year would be helpful.
Okay. So
Nothing's changed in the zoning ordinance, nothing changed in the
we're looking to schedule you to the August meeting,
August is fine.
right? So I'll make a motion. Everybody is familiar with this application. To schedule this to the August 20, what'd you say, 23rd?
23rd, yes.
August 23rd meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
The second, thank you, Joe. The second application of the evening is for Mark McGuire and Linda Jackson, Plat 11, Lot 10-2, Fire Number 778, Mitchell Lane. It's the application for a variance from Sections 306C for side setback relief and for a special use permit under Article 3, Section 306E, Article 4, Sections 401 and 406 to demolish an existing single-family dwelling and replace it with a larger single-family dwelling. So you're still with us on this one too, okay? It is a special use permit, so we have a checklist to go through. Yeah. Okay, the list of all the addresses of property owners has been submitted. All of the variances, modifications, et cetera, have been submitted. There's 2, I don't know if some of us were on the board when they got their first and second, or their, the variance, they came to us before. Might remember that. The composite site plan that shall be prepared by, that's been submitted. All the existing structures have been submitted. 3B, spatial requirements have been submitted. 3C, where any land disturbance is proposed, environmental data shall include well and sewage disposal sites. The property is not under CRMC jurisdiction, all construction is outside of DEM, so you're asking for
No, I'm asking for a waiver, we've actually submitted it, and
a,
I'm
okay,
clarifying now.
okay. They've submitted land disturbance and existing and proposed grades. There shall be indicated one or more benchmarks. They've been submitted. Statement from the zoning official has been requested. CRMC engineering and biological reports, it's not within the CRMC jurisdiction. Utility and disposal plan has been submitted. Architectural plans have been submitted. Aerial photos have been submitted. Is that just the aerial plat map?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No,
I could-
actually, I think the engineer provided an aerial in
Okay,
addition to that,
all right.
so maybe
Different photo.
yeah.
Yeah. Toxic and hazardous materials impacts, waiver has been requested. Anybody have an issue with that? Natural conditions analysis. Waiver requested. Right.
You should change that in your form.
You think?
Yeah, I think.
How long have we been talking about that? Landscape plan, waivers requested, it's a single-family residential development, no significant changes to existing landscape are proposed. Anybody have an issue with that? Open space management plan, there's no proposed the waivers requested as there's no proposed open space. Models, waiver requested, architectural and building plans should suffice. Agree. Traffic analysis, no additional impact has been requested, waiver's been requested as no additional impact on traffic. And auto dependency, a waiver is requested as no change in existing residential use. Has everybody had a chance to go through? Does anybody have any questions for Joe that they want to see anything for the next?
I would recommend that, I actually got to go to the site. It would be very helpful to go to the
Yeah.
site and look at it before the hearing, because of the lay of the land. You really don't, at least I don't see it as clearly on plans as I do when I stand on the land. So we welcome you to come visit the site.
Great.
Attorney Priestley, could you just make sure that mic is on?
Yeah, and Karen, I gotta figure out how to turn now.
It is on.
Okay,
Karen, can you say something again? I'm trying to figure out the volume because you're coming in.
Yes, I'm here. Is that better?
Yeah, I think it's, okay. Thank you.
okay, so I will make a motion to schedule this to the September
27.
27th meeting, correct? Do you think, Joe, you can get, is that going to be enough time to do planning?
It may be, if not, we'll come.
If not, okay, okay.
Or do you want October?
No, I think I probably should start with September, but you probably won't see it until October.
Okay.
It's whatever you do.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to schedule to the September meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Yep. Okay, the first hearing of the evening is Corneck Road LLC, Plat 2, Lot 2-3, fire number 732, Corneck Road. Application by Celeste Helterline for a special use permit under section 513D2A for construction of an accessory dwelling unit for year-round residents. I'm going to ask both of you to have Sally.
Well, Karen can.
Oh, Karen's.
Yeah.
Karen, can you swear them in, please?
Good evening. Could you raise your right hand? Could you please state one at a time your names for the record?
Wyatt Helperline. And Carl Sauerberry.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during the course of this hearing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi.
I've got-
So-
I don't know if one wants to go to that, or, I mean, they can stand there.
You can
and
use,
it's gonna
yeah,
be
just
fine.
make sure you do speak one at a time and to
Or
the,
you can use that other podium as well.
so do you have a plan on how you want to submit this? Do you want me to kind of guide you through?
I have some narrative.
Okay, great.
That's okay.
Why don't you start them?
First, let the owner introduce himself.
Okay,
Hi, Wyatt Helperline, the owner. And I'm Carl Sauerberry, expert witness for tonight, the architect for the plan. So I first wanted to read a letter from Celeste Helferland, who apologize for not being able to be here this evening. I do have 6 copies of this letter from her that I'd like to hand out, if that works.
Sure, and why don't we'll mark one as exhibit.
Okay, and I do have an Exhibit A.
Okay,
I want to call the other one Exhibit C or whatever.
okay.
And if I could just request that you please speak into the mic, it's very difficult to hear.
Okay, that's understood. My apologies. Is that better?
It's a little better, yes.
No, green light on.
Is the green light on?
Ah, that might be a lot better.
That is a lot better. Thank you.
Okay.
So applicant's exhibit 1 is a letter from the Celeste Helterline to the zoning board with a site plan, it looks like. With a site plan.
Okay, again, Celeste is the applicant, and as such, this is her letter. Dear zoning board members, I apologize for not being able to attend this meeting. I made plans months ago to visit my daughter during this time. We are applying for a special use permit under section 513D2A. It states, relief from the living floor area maximum, maximum number of bedrooms, and maximum number of dwelling units per lot may be granted by a special use permit subject to a finding that the development is consistent with the purpose of this section and the scale, use, and siting of the proposed accessory dwelling unit or units is harmonious with the surrounding land use and development pattern. We believe we meet these criteria. The ordinance states 1,500 square feet is the maximum, and we are seeking relief from that. The planning board's advisory states the applicant has a different interpretation of the zoning ordinance, 513.D.2, as being able to provide a greater relief / no maximum size for living area, and is requested to proceed with the application. I never said that there should be no maximum size. We are seeking 204 square feet above the stated maximum of 1,500. Our intention is for this ADU to be occupied by our son Wyatt Helterline. He and Carl Sarby, the architect, have worked on this plan for a while. They tried to stay within 1,500 square feet, but it just did not work. We are trying to create a home that meets Wyatt's family's needs. The plan they have come up with works, is not excessive, and fits in with the surroundings. It gives them reasonable sized living, sleeping, and workspaces. Wyatt grew up on the island, has a family and business here, calls Block Island home, and needs a place to live. In viewing our request, I ask that you take into consideration the existing house on the property is a 1,272 square foot ranch style summer cottage on a little over 3 acres. There is a 528 square foot garage and 2 sheds, one that would be taken down. We could apply for an accessory building that is larger than the 1,704 square feet we're proposing without a variance or special use permit. We could simply submit plans and get a building permit. Under the ordinance, if we had an existing building of 1,800 square feet, we could convert that to an ADU. Or we could build 2 1,200 square foot buildings, giving us 2,400 square feet. So why not one 1,704 square foot building? Wyatt and Carl can answer any questions you have in my absence. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully, Celeste Helterline for the Helterline family. So the do's and don'ts of the ordinance aside, we'll leave that for the powers that be in this room. We just wanted to talk a little about the development of the plans, since living square footage is really our issue tonight. So at one point during our early designs, and Celeste is correct, we did spend a lot of time on it, we had 1,800 square feet. So immediately we said, look, something has to change. So we took out a bedroom, we kind of squashed a art craft space in a bedroom, morphed them into one, et cetera. We squeezed it down and it still wasn't small enough. And so we purposely drew a 1,500 square foot scheme. And there were 2 glaring things missing from it for this year-round ADU proposal. One was a small office for Wyatt to do his business. And 2 was what we'll call safety space around the wood stove. As it turns out, both of these needed about 100 square feet. An office, a 10 by 10 office would be 100. And upstairs to give enough, again, safety distance around wood stove and et cetera for the kids. They both added up to 200 square feet. So then we said, okay, we need to do a different plan. So we explored a bunch of options, and that brings us to Exhibit A. And it might be a little difficult at first, but if you bear with me, what I've done is I've superimposed our proposed house, which is shown in green in the middle, and with a yellowish green deck going around it. I've superimposed that with what we could have done, which is actually 2 blocks of red and what I'll call reddish brown. The red being a building, the reddish brown being decks, where we said, okay, maybe the office and our craft space are a separate building. We fully understood that Block Island, in my terms, likes their small scattered buildings. So we said, okay, put one there, and then put a 1,200 square foot ADU in that other red block, if that makes sense to you guys, behind it. The orientation on this plan is basically south at the top of the sheet, and you'll see a neighbor's house over here to the east. So, I'm sorry, you'll see to the left on the sheet, or the east. I can also hold this up if it's easier. So to the left, or is that correct? East, yeah, is one neighbor. And then to the south or top of the sheet is another neighbor, who I believe had some questions for Celeste at a previous meeting. And then obviously the house that is on the same site as ours is right here at the bottom right of the sheet, or northwest-ish. So the point of this exhibit was that we thought that the 2 separate buildings were taking up too much space from what I would argue, even as an architect, is one of the beautiful things about Block Island beyond the buildings, which are beautiful, and that is these open hilltops. To me, it's one of the first things that stood out to me. And this is, in fact, kind of a plateau. And even though it may not look drastic, the difference between the green building and the red and red-brown, that 25 to 33 feet to us ruined the whole hill and what I'll call the social distance, between buildings. I actually also ran a study that I'll call view obstruction. I know that views don't really matter at zoning, but the perception of the hill it does. And I basically came up with almost a 30-degree wedge of blocked view, i.e. enjoyment from the east neighbor, for instance, to look over to the pond, and from each of those houses. So we very adamantly said, this doesn't look right. And in that realm, we also admittedly looked at putting the office in the pink shed just before the garage. That's an 87.6 square foot shed, and we said, okay, what if the office is in there? And basically what it amounted to is that would be much more than a mere inconvenience for Wyatt and his family, for him to truck over to the office, whether it's in the winter, in the sleet, or in the wind, or whatever, and to not be able to involve the kids in some of those processes. So that's where we were. So then we finally said, okay, why don't we give a nod to one of the concepts, which is to not overdo square footage here. So let's take that shed out and squeeze the proposed house closer to the garage by a fair amount and free up the hilltop from there. So that's kind of the history we went through. And in doing that, what we ended up with is, again, what we felt was not only something that took care of the mere inconvenience, but also did not alter the character of the surrounding area. In this case, that hilltop that you could probably even see from Corn Neck, I would guess, to keep the open enjoyment of the island. Other things that I'd mention quickly is that, well, really one other thing. None of these exercises were done for financial gain. It's kind of just the opposite, in my subjective opinion. We're kind of equipping this employee of the island, so to speak, to be able to do his work, live with his family, and especially be here year-round. And that's pretty much where we are. So thank you for your time.
Sure. Do you want, okay. I'm just going to go through. Do you have any questions about?
Do you want to mark that exhibit A?
This is, well, we marked it because it was, he gave it with a letter, so it's,
Oh, okay, let me
It's-
just put
to-
it on it,
yeah.
just so that it's not. I'm sorry, what exhibit?
it's Exhibit A is the color coded, you like your
Yes.
color coding,
I
don't you?
do, yes. I'm an architect.
And when you're talking about this on the site plan, which I'm trying to find. Sorry, got it. I think maybe you'd want to submit the site plan as an exhibit, just so that it goes on record of where this is going to be placed. I'm going to submit the site plan. We typically you would submit the site plans, the building plans.
Okay.
But so, well,
So applicant's exhibit
two,
are we starting with two or?
Two,
or
go to
we-
two.
Okay, so two.
two is the site plan. Is there a reason why you're putting it behind the garage and not down closer to the road? Is it,
Yeah, the key thing is the house and the septic and being gravity fed. So it all laid in splendidly is what I would say, to have the house on the flat site. What comes into play is the maximum height for an ADU. And in doing that, having the average grade to work with that was flat really allowed us, once we pulled the pitch lower than we'd be allowed with the larger building, because of the size, we were able to do the lower pitch and we were able to just squeeze in that. Had we been on the hill, I would have been over the limit or doing a rubber roof, which I thought did not fit the character whatsoever of the island. So all that to say, in a quick nutshell, the septic will be down on the hill and the house will be on the flat just beyond the garage, as close as we could without invoking fire separation distance code issues.
Do you want to mark building plans?
yeah, I'm getting them. It was,
So it's A and then one and two, and now this is three.
okay,
Can you just
I did,
no,
yeah, can you-
there's different versions, I just want to make sure.
can you make sure that we are looking, this one is dated 5/8/23.
Yes.
Is that the
That is the
latest
current.
version? Okay.
Yes, and we did make copies for the committee. I'm sorry I didn't.
No, we
you know,
got
okay.
that, yeah, thank you. So applicant's exhibit 3 is the architectural plans by Carl Sauerbray, architect, dated 5/8/23. There are 7 pages. And they include floor plans and, are there elevations in here?
Yes, there are.
Yeah, elevations, okay. Does anybody have any questions about the plans or site plan?
I can't find the page that I'm looking for, but there's an exterior stairway to the second floor, is that correct?
To the second floor deck. This,
Cover that.
sure, yeah. It's been so long, I had forgotten to mention that. So there's an open stair going to a second floor deck in what we want to call an upside down house. So in this case here, and it actually helped us come in even smaller. I understand we're asking for more space, but having the living area upstairs and the bedrooms downstairs allowed us to more efficiently design the house too. I mean, I think it was something my client preferred anyway. But all that to say that it's a deck set of steps up to a deck alone
Okay, can I have,
that then accesses the living room.
Just making sure we're not missing any things we need to
Sure.
stamp.
do you want to mark the planning board advisory?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to those. I'm gonna get to that in the letters.
And then you have letters?
Yeah. Guess I'm not, okay. All right, we do have a interesting advisory from the planning board.
Yes.
I watched the meeting, and I know that several other people have watched the meeting, and I've reread this advisory several times. I am going to read it because that's the only way we're going to get through it. Sorry. It's going to take a little bit of time. The applicant is seeking approval to construct a new residential structure under 513 accessory dwelling units. The proposed new residential structure is 1,704 square feet. The property is currently developed with an existing 1,200 square foot single-family dwelling. Amendments to Section 513 of the zoning ordinance were adopted in 2022 to provide greater flexibility as to what could be considered an accessory dwelling unit to spur the creation of additional attainable housing units to meet local housing needs. One revision provided an increase from the original 1,200 square feet maximum living area to allow up to 1,500 square feet with a special use permit. The intent of the amendment was to allow up to 1,500 square feet for accessory dwelling units with the granting of a special use permit and development plan review with Section 513D2, providing the standards and process related to those applicable projects. The applicant has a different interpretation of the zoning ordinance and has requested to proceed with the application. Below is the relevant language from 513. And that's attached, and this is what we've been gone over and over and over, correct? That whether or not you can have a special use permit on a special use permit and what D2 says. But their decision, the planning board's advisory for this application is contingent upon the zoning board's interpretation of the zoning ordinance. The planning board voted 6-0 during their July 12th meeting to send an unfavorable advisory based on the existing language in the zoning ordinance allowing up to 1,500 square feet for an accessory dwelling unit. The planning board also expressed in this vote that they support the development and creation of this ADU if the zoning board interprets the zoning ordinance consistent with the applicant that 513D allows for more than 1,500 square feet of living area. The planning board did not waive the stormwater management drainage, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So, So, when I watched the meeting, they were very clear, the board was very clear in their discussion that they were, if we interpreted that under D2, you could have a special use permit on a special use permit, that they would give a favorable advisory. If we said, no, we don't think that that is the case, and we stand with the town, the planner's intent, as she says it is, then it's an unfavorable advisory for the 1,700 square feet. But we as a board last month decided that we agreed with the applicant and that they could have a special use on the 1,500 and go to 1,700. So that means that the advisory from the planning board is favorable. The long and short of that was, and
Does that mean, Kate, that their current advisory is not the final one? That if we decide to interpret the zoning ordinance the way the applicant has?
I think it says it here, right?
Change it?
No, I think it says it right here that they,
That it would-
the advisory is,
how it would flip.
the advisory is the advisory. So that is the planning board's advisory, and so we have a favorable advisory from the planning board, in my opinion.
If we conclude.
If we conclude,
Yes.
and we concluded last month that they were going for a special use permit on under D2. Do
Kate, do you want to mark,
you want to mark that?
do you want to mark it as an exhibit since
Yep.
you read it? I mean, you do, well, usually the applicant asks
Do
for
you
it,
want me,
but,
we'll mark it.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. Then we do have, yeah. Karen?
It would be applicant's exhibit 4, the planning board advisory to the zoning board dated July 21st.
Karen, this is Rob Closter. I had a question for you. In the planning board hearing, when I watched it, you agreed with the applicant that they have the ability to ask for a larger square footage, correct? That the language in there was proper and the intention, whatever the intention was at the zoning ordinance did not state that.
Not sure I follow the question, but the advice that I've been giving is that you have two sections of the ordinance, D1 and D2. D1 clearly states that you can get a special use permit for an accessory dwelling unit between 1,200 and 1,500 square feet. It states 1,200 square feet of living area up to a maximum of 1,500 square feet. That is that section. There is nothing above 1,500 square feet. Like you don't have another use code that says you can get a special use permit if you're going from 1501 to 2000. That doesn't exist. That section D1 is a maximum of 1,500 square feet. If you look further down under D2A, there is additional language. That's the language that the applicant has come before you to say that you can get another special use permit to get relief from D1A. It's up to the board really to interpret that ordinance. It's an unusual circumstance, I'll say that. In my experience, I've never seen a special use permit on top of a special use permit. But that's, your ordinance is the language that you've been given to interpret.
Thank you.
Yeah, the D2 reads, what's it here? A relief from the living floor area, maximum number of bedrooms, and maximum number of dwelling units per lot may be granted by a special use permit, subject to a finding that the development is consistent with the proposed section.
Didn't we already decide this at the last meeting?
Yes, we've already decided this.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to, because this, it's complicated, that needs to be rewritten.
That was the
You
direction,
weren't at the last meeting? Oh, you missed.
that was the direction you sent.
Right, right.
I think you were talking, at the last meeting, you were just talking about whether or not a variance was going to be required.
was-
And
we-
this is, so now
But we did decide at the last meeting that
the variance wasn't required.
variance wasn't required, and
Now
they,
you still need to decide what that language says. for-
that language says to me that they can apply for 1,700 square feet. That's what we talked about at the last meeting. By special
I
use
agree with
permit.
that too.
And which the planning board said that they believe that they checked all the boxes off to meet those standards.
Right. They meet the, size and keeping of the neighborhood, all these things. We do have a letter from an abutter to the east, Greg Slamowitz and Kirsten Hilleman, excuse me, that owned 1776 Cornneck Road. They are opposed to the going beyond the 1,500 square feet and state that they have 5 legally acceptable options available to them, and they go on to list, there's 5 that they could do other things. They could have, a accessory dwelling unit of 1,200 square feet or less. They go throughout the whole thing. No,
The existing.
they feel that the applicant fails to meet the first requirement of the special use permit section. On its face, the applicant request fails to meet the statutory requirements of section 513D for the granting of the relief.
The existing house, when was that originally built? Back in the
60s.
70s, 60s?
60s.
60s probably, yeah.
So to make that into a year-round place would be very difficult.
Yeah, it needs a lot of work.
Yes.
Okay. And it's 1,200 square feet or something, right? Yeah,
We had done an inside look at that also as one of the
it's
options.
an awesome house. Yeah. Okay, anybody have any questions for the applicant? This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay. I will take this under advisement. We'll take this under advisement, and I'll make a motion to close the hearing. Great. Second?
All right, second,
Great.
all right,
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Okay. You're next.
Kennedy.
Hold on one second. I just have some
All right.
different things next.
I'd like to open the public hearing for Robert Kenny, Plat 6, Lot 35, 454 Ocean Avenue, application for a variance from Section 113C1 and 313C, for construction of a second floor onto the existing building, Section 411, commercial residential mixed use.
Bob, can you just slide that microphone closer?
Yeah.
Good afternoon or good evening. I'm Douglas Gilpin, architect, Charlottesville, Virginia, and Block Island.
Bobby Kenny, owner.
Karen, could you swear them in?
If you please raise your right hand. Would you state your name for the record?
W. Douglas Gilpin, Jr.
Robert Kenny.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during the course of this hearing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening. We're continuing, as we know, this project is the site of Robbie Murphy's former repair facility down on Ocean Avenue. And as pointed out last time, Bobby has purchased the property. He is going to be converting the building into a cafe on the first floor and is also going to be building a second floor, which will have his own residence, personal residence on the second floor. The zoning is service commercial, and we are going to change the use from the automotive repair to a commercial mixed use mixed use commercial residential with the residential on the second floor. So we're here from that standpoint. Planning has reviewed the application earlier this month, and Bobby will be appearing before them with regards to the development plan at their public hearing next month. The property, the other reasons we are here is that the property is a very small triangular lot, as you see on the site plan. With the setbacks, the building is actually encroaching on the rear and side setbacks. With a proposed stair to Bobby's residential area, that would be encroaching also into the setback. Also, any vertical expansion goes into the setback. So again, that is why we are here. As an update, we have met with the Historic District Commission. We had preliminary and final approval, and we have a few pending window adjustments, which will be heard at their August meeting from that standpoint. So we're anticipating full approval from the Historic District Commission. Bobby has also been working with landscape architect Derek Van Lent in developing a landscape plan for the entire property. And I will just stand back and Bobby can tell a little about his project.
Yeah, the downstairs will be converted to a cafe from the existing service station that was there, and a two-bedroom apartment above for my year-round housing. I was on Spring Street for 25 years and bought this property and sold mine. So I'll be moving there year-round. I have some plans from Derek, if anybody would like to see them, or what the protocol is to pass them out. Other
If
than
you
that,
want to give them to you. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
If you want to bring them up, sure.
Do you want to mark them as an exhibit?
Exhibit.
How many copies do you have? Okay, let me just take one, thank you. So applicant's exhibit 1, would be a landscape plan from Van Lent Associates dated 7/24/2023.
Did you say you were going back to the planning board?
Under, the planning board requires a development plan review. We've gone through the application. They have signed off on the application, so Bobby is having the public hearing next month.
Just to clarify, so usually you see development plan review advisories coming from the planning board, but this is a variance and development plan review approval from the planning board. The DPR approval is binding and not advisory to this board. He doesn't have to come back,
Doesn't have to come back here.
unless something changes at planning, and then he would have to start over, and he was advised of that.
Okay.
Bob, you're not expanding the footprint, right?
No,
No.
In the deck?
Well, they are with the
the
stairs.
deck is actually, I'm sorry, the deck is actually going to be smaller than the original one.
In the deck you're gonna put in front, it goes to the curb?
The actual deck is all within the,
I understand the plan.
yeah, the new deck is going to be smaller than the size of the prior canopy that Robbie had. But yes, it does, it all encroaches within the setback just because it's a very oddly shaped lot, which then translates to a very oddly shaped setback envelope.
And then you got 4 parking spots?
Total of 5. There are 4 customer lots, spaces, and 1 for Bobby.
Thank you.
And we've done the calculations based on seating, and we are in compliance.
Excellent.
Bob, do you want to just mark,
Exhibit.
if you want to mark the site plan and the building plans as exhibits? and just
Okay.
have the
Mark this as
applicant
exhibit. We just had an exhibit.
Yeah, we marked that one,
Okay.
the landscape, so you're just marking the
This
site
one,
plan
site
and.
plan and the plans.
Applicant's exhibit
B,
2
2,
is a site plan
and then the and then,
prepared by Atlas Land Surveying for Plat 6, Lot 35. Bobby Kenny, dated 3/28, 2023.
and then exhibit 3 will be the building plans.
Yes. And then Exhibit 3 would be plans 554 Ocean Ave, Plat 6, Lot 35, floor plans by W. Douglas Gilpin, architect. 2 pages. I don't think you need this. No, it's the same thing.
Second thing.
2 pages.
Okay. Does anybody have questions of the applicant?
If we could just go over that deck again, what, is it, there's a 192 square foot wood deck, and then surrounded by,
That's permeable it looks like the same thing. It looks like a deck, but it's permeable paving.
It's pavers.
Yeah, it's pavers. I got confused by that, too.
it's a small area of 192 square feet, that's a wood deck? Just for clarification. The larger area is labeled proposed permeable, got that? Proposed crushed, I got that.
192 square foot deck is the elevated deck that is directly off of Bobby's residential unit on the second floor.
Second floor.
Yes.
So under that's going to be the permeable paving.
Pardon me?
Underneath that is permeable paving, so the deck isn't on the first floor? No.
That is correct.
Okay. Is that going to be like seating and stuff like that out there?
That's actually, it's his personal,
Yeah, it is.
No, I don't mean that. The permeable area, is that going to be
Just
seating,
decorative.
outdoor seating?
More decorative and just
Okay.
parents.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody in the audience? Is it a public hearing? Nope.
Do you want me to just make sure they don't have any letters? I don't think they do, but.
I didn't see any.
You're also using the shoulder of the road there for additional parking? Is that what I read?
Where's that?
I think all of, the way Ken has this is the edge of the parking is within the property line.
Property line. There's a buffer after the property line to the road.
So where it says proposed asphalt parking area for cafe to remain with stalls meeting town requirements, that arrow is actually pointing to the four
Ye-
spots?
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I don't see
Should
it.
have been a longer arrow. Good point.
It went right to the asphalt to remain, so
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was the parking.
Could you just briefly describe the rationale for the variance request, please?
The building encroaches in the setback. It's a one-story building.
Yes,
To go vertically, we have to get a variance.
okay.
So that's number one.
No change to the footprint.
There will be a stairway going up to his residence. That will also encroach into the setback. Those are the two areas.
And the front deck encroaches.
And the front deck, yes, that's correct. So we're removing the present canopy, which is, I believe, a larger structure.
Yeah.
And doing a smaller.
The problem is the lot is just so uniquely shaped that no matter what they do, they need to get their own pretty much, right?
That's correct.
I mean, no matter what he does.
And the current height, will that be where you put the floor joists up top? Where you recently put the floor joists, is that the height?
that's the top deck, yeah.
That's the top deck.
We took, yes, we took to the top of the concrete block of the original 1933 structure.
It'll be within the 30-foot maximum height.
Yes. So we have to sort of work backwards from that.
Do you have a site plan showing the new construction?
Yes,
I know you do. and
it's under proposed plan view.
We've got a site plan,
So
but
I
the site
think-
plan that I'm looking at does not have,
Right, so I think it's in the file, Bob, and we should
Okay.
mark it.
it has a 192 square foot deck, but it doesn't have dimensions on the deck.
Well,
Here?
The landscape plan shows proposed 192 square foot deck, but let's see if there's a,
It doesn't have dimensions on the deck. It doesn't have it on this one either. What are the dimensions of the deck? You want to,
memory serves me correct, it's on the architectural drawings. I don't have a direct dimension on there, but I will go from memory. It's roughly 16 by 12. Roughly. Is that pretty close to?
yeah, that's 192. So, do we want to mark this, that's what it is?
well, you have the landscape plan that's marked, and that shows the proposed deck.
That
It
doesn't show
also
the size, though.
It does, it says proposed 192 square feet, unless you want 12 by,
I think you should put the dimension on it,
okay, well then we'll ask,
because it could come further into the setback if you made it narrower.
Could we just write that as in the decision?
Yeah, yeah.
Doug, do you want him to amend this site plan, or this, plan by Derek Van Lent, or?
And make it a lot easier, I think. I mean, we could put it in a decision, but
Why don't we do it, since Ken has done everything from the standpoint of all the setbacks, and Derek is primarily landscape, why don't we
Yeah.
have Ken Cole from Atlas show the dimensions on his plan? Which
Okay.
is the one which we refer to from the standpoint of the variances and others.
okay.
So it'd be on this plan.
Is it on that thing?
You have the file.
I don't have it in there, I don't think.
So on the plan by applicant's exhibit 2, survey site plan, it does not, it's existing conditions, correct? That's,
The plan I've been looking at is the one May 2023, which I believe was submitted, which has the flood information.
it's, look, It's this
Yeah.
one, it might be the one under it. Do you wanna give me the file and I'll look?
Yeah, I have this one right here. This is the one from Atlas. That's the
Right,
survey.
but that doesn't have, it's this one. It's very small, but you can see that it,
This one. Yeah, but that still doesn't have the dimensions on it. See?
well, it doesn't have the dimensions, but it has 192 square feet, and then you are saying that,
Correct. I'm saying what you could do is you could make the deck 10 by 19. And you-
What it sounds like what you're saying is have Ken put dimensions on the deck.
correct.
Okay.
That's all.
and
And the setback as well.
Yeah,
Because the setback goes to the building right now,
correct.
and not to the actual deck.
Correct.
so I think you should mark applicant's exhibit 4, this site plan proposed conditions by Atlas Land Surveying. Show, because that's where you're gonna see this deck.
I think if we just put the 12 by 16, if they want to amend this by putting it on there, we'd be fine with it.
We'll do both.
Okay.
But you're still not showing what that setback,
Is the deck located outside? of
Yes.
the Setback area entirely?
Yes.
That's, we know.
Yes.
So that setback should be 15.5, is that correct?
I will have Ken check it.
Where did you get that?
Well, it's saying from the lot line to the corner of the house is 27.5, and then if
Oh,
you
yeah.
subtract that from 12, it's roughly 15.5, but that doesn't account for the angles.
No, the angles, yeah. So,
What we'll do is we'll have Ken show what the existing canopy as well as to the proposed deck. So that'll give you both of them on one page.
so then basically we have to do it in the decision.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
decision
okay.
contingency, right?
Okay. Yep.
Can you consider keeping as much of the deck in the footprint area as possible?
Pardon?
If I was just suggesting a dimension that was, longer and narrower depth-wise,
Well, we'll be working within that 190 square foot size.
I mean, it's fairly clear that it's wider than narrow, and it's 192 square feet. That's clear. It's just that there's no dimension on it. But if we put the dimension on it in a stipulation, that's what it is. Yeah.
we
So,
don't hear that it could have been, we're saying it's the least relief necessary. This is additional footprint. I think.
Yeah, Bob, any reason why that deck is on the front of the building and not on the northwest side?
Well, for one,
Inside the building footprint?
yeah, for one reason, we're gonna make it so it's waterproof, so the customers underneath, for obvious reasons, don't get wet. That's one of the reasons, and the views are phenomenal from the front of the house.
fair enough. Fair
That's
enough.
curb appeal to the whole thing too, like this is.
Yeah.
traffic, a lot of people driving by.
Yeah. We're trying to make it very curb appeal,
Yeah.
spending a lot of time with the landscaping and so forth.
Actually, Bobby was told by a number of people who drove by, why don't you just take that original canopy that was there and carry it across the entire facade of the building? They like that idea, but we know we can't.
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
Can we get a motion to close the public hearing?
well, can I just, do you want it closed if they're going to revise any site plan and bring it back, or do you want to just add that to your decision?
You
Add
gotta-
it to the decision.
when do
Okay,
you-
I just want to make sure.
Just add it to
Yeah,
the decision.
I think we're gonna do it in this. There's no reason to come back a second.
Okay.
Next
Thank you.
one.
That's what he
Yeah.
was suggesting.
So,
Make a motion to close the hearing.
second. We have a vote? Aye. Aye. Okay. Public hearing is closed. We'll take it under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there's still a month out anyways with planning, right?
Yeah.
So even if we push that off.
Well, I just wanted to, I want to make sure you were here.
Yeah, right. But then they have to come back.
Suggesting was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to have, yeah, it's crazy to have them come back. They
Okay.
clearly put it on, you know.
Our final hearing of the evening is Clifford and Caroline Moskowitz, Plat 8, Lot 115, fire number 279, Amy Dodge Lane, application for a variance from sections 113 and 306C for an existing single-family dwelling to be demolished and a new single-family dwelling to be constructed.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Wallen. I'm the attorney for Cliff and Carrie Moskowitz. I have two witnesses.
Make sure that you stand closer to the microphone, sorry.
You're getting good volume now? Better? Okay. I have two witnesses with me tonight. We're going to present the application. What we're looking for is a variance, as noted in the application. We're going to take down an existing building that by my understanding, is 160 years old and doesn't necessarily conform to any modern standard. Replace it with a new structure approximately 100 square feet smaller, but about 9.5 feet taller, still 4 feet under the 32-foot maximum. I'm going to call Doug Gilpin as the first witness.
Okay? No, our attorneys don't get sworn
Lawyers are assumed to be honest.
in. Assumed. Doug, you do need to be sworn in.
Good evening, Mr. Gilpin. Could you raise your right hand? Could you state your name for the record, please?
W. Douglas Gilpin, Jr.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during the course of this hearing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Doug, what is your profession?
Eric, I am an architect registered in Rhode Island, Virginia, and several other states.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Block Island zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan?
I've been working on Block Island and using the ordinance for, I'd say, at least 25 years.
In that time period, any idea how many projects you've worked on out here?
About close to 30.
Okay, so you have some familiarity. I'd like to have you just briefly describe what Mr. and Mrs. Moskowitz would like to do.
Certainly. To fill everybody in, first of all, has everybody been to the house site?
Yes.
Okay. It's an older house, roughly built about 1860s, and it was a typical island house situated on a hill right next to the lane, very convenient. Historic photographs show a wonderful porch along the lane side of the house. I think probably in the 1920s or so, a side porch was enclosed. And then the house underwent a significant amount of renovations, probably post-war, I want to say about late 1940s, 1950s. And then another renovation in I'd probably say 1970s, upgrades. But the basic core of the house is there. First floor, from first floor to second floor is 7'4". The second floor, the side knee walls go up about 3.5 feet and a low-pitched roof. So when Cliff and Carrie contacted me about the house, I took a look at it, walked through it with them. And unfortunately, a lot of the historic interior trim had been removed, as I say, a lot of renovations in the 1950s and 1970s. So the interior of the house has changed. It has lost, sadly, a lot of its historic character. The only thing they had were exposed beams, which prior owners had concealed under acoustical paneling. We initially were looking at the aspect of raising the roof. As I say, it's very, very tight ceiling on the second floor. That, of course, triggers a variance, just because we would be going above well, first of all, we're within the front yard setback, so any vertical expansion, very similar to the project I just spoke about, we would have that. We also talked to a structural engineer, Ernie George, in Wakefield, about raising the entire second floor up to a higher level. And after running the numbers and looking at all of the other aspects and knowing that if we delve into this project doing major changes, there are going to be a lot of other things that fall into place. We would have to replace the electrical, which was in terrible shape. The house is not winterized. Plumbing, crawl space is about that deep, so running plumbing pipes into the crawl space would require removing all the floorboards and running it this way. Make a long story short, Cliff and Carrie said, as much as we'd love to save and work with the house, it's just not working from the standpoint of the big picture. So they asked me to come up with a design which is roughly the same size as the present house. Present house is 47 foot 11 and a half inches. We're going 1/2 inch more. The new house is going to be 48 feet long. Present house is 21 foot 5 overall. We're going with 21 foot. We have a net reduction in lot building coverage from the standpoint of this particular house on its footprint. The idea is also to get rid of the basement or cellar and the foundation structure, complete new foundation. And then we added a basement bulkhead, which is also factored into the lot building coverage. But with that, we had to slide the house slightly to the east, so we are not encroaching any more than what presently exists on the property. Again, using Ken's description, the present house is 13 foot 6 inches and 13 foot 1 off of the corner of the house. So we would be sliding the house slightly northeast in order to put a basement bulkhead on the side of the house where a service technician would be able to park his truck.
Stop you there.
Yes.
Jen, do you have a full-size plan in the file?
Yeah.
I'm gonna junk it up if you already have one. We can mark that as Exhibit 1.
The site plan?
Yeah.
Applicant's Exhibit 1 is a site plan by Atlas Land Surveying LLC dated, I don't know. Same date. Oh, December 22. December 22.
Does that one have a revision of February 23rd? It would be just above that, December 22.
No. No. Wait, I got more.
You submitted this one.
Mhm.
That's not the second.
No, hold on, I'm not,
No revision on that. On the miniature one either.
found it, maybe. Nope.
Do you think it's attached to your plan, Steph?
Or is it,
No, there's a small one in there, but that doesn't have it either.
We do have a reduced 11/17. You could see one right there.
Okay, what's that?
this is a reduced, nope,
No? That's the one I saw.
wouldn't be
Yeah, maybe
attached to
check-
plans.
Check Doug's plans to see if it's,
That
No
is,
revision there either.
yes, that's what I'm wondering.
no. Did you submit them to, because I just went through my file and I just
This is what I submitted, I don't know,
recently.
Where
Is it
we-
the same size?
No, because what I'm saying, is I can just go grab it from the back office, because I put all that,
Or
Well-
we can take their 11 by 17.
but I'm saying for the
Yeah,
big,
As long as you have a full size, we can use this as
Wait,
Yes, I mean,
no.
we just marked other exhibits that are 11 by 17.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
just
it.
curious why Kate's not finding.
What's the,
What is the revision?
It would,
Oh, Kate, the revision's up here. Did you see that? It's right
Come
here.
on.
Oh,
So, see right there?
Yeah, no, that's what we've been looking at. It doesn't, none of them.
No, not the December. It's revised up here.
No,
Okay.
we've been, that's what we've been looking for.
I can't tell you because I know Ken
Where we.
made the revision and submitted it.
I just, as my visual, like I do better with bigger numbers. Bigger, not not more numbers.
So are we marking, we're not gonna mark your plans, Doug, we're just marking this site plan?
Yes.
Can I just go see if it's in my packet?
We're actually going to,
I have a packet right here. Okay,
I'm gonna look through the file.
packet right here.
So Sally, applicant's exhibit one,
But it's,
would be the surveyed site plan for plat 8, lot 115, Atlas Land Surveying, revision date, February 2023.
no revision.
No.
Oh, they didn't put it where the revision is, that's what you, that's what.
Yeah, no, but I've been looking at the December 22nd.
Yeah, so that's, we have it.
Is
No,
that it?
this is not this is another job of
No.
Atlas's.
No, that's not them.
No, that's Mark's.
Okay.
Kate, do you wanna hand me the file and I'll look and then put the,
I'm gonna go grab
see
it.
what's up there?
This is all the old ones.
But we do know where he puts his revision, he doesn't put it in the box.
Right,
Because
so
it's-
Yeah.
because
let me
it's
just
the same
check,
survey.
let me just look through that and see.
I can go look in the stuff like that because I don't ever grab my file because I'm.
Yeah. You should have it, you should have it too. You should have it in there too, right? I don't need that.
I don't see the revision.
No, and the application's got December 22nd too. What we have here.
I enjoy's printed, but I didn't catch the color. It looks nicer.
Yeah, we don't have one here. Yeah, it's the same one through there. The only thing on this is, yeah, and that was 6/22.
Jen, do you have a copy of the revised one, the small print of it? If you reach it. I got it.
Okay, that's, yeah. There it is right there. What's the difference?
Wasn't the first meeting in January and, at that time, no action was taken, but,
We've got,
but
we've
the.
got
Oh, you found
one. Well, she has it, but it's,
It's little,
It's the
that's what I'm
little one,
saying.
but
Little.
then, so if this revision was February, that was after that first meeting that was sort of tabled and didn't go anywhere, until you filed again, and you didn't file anything new with this application.
That's the application itself.
Maybe check it.
No new plans, right?
It's got existing and proposed.
Oh,
So I don't think you submitted it, because the only thing we have is what was submitted in January when it was first on for the very first meeting. And then it hasn't been on an agenda until June.
The other one just has.
That's why we don't have it. It wasn't submitted with your material.
I got you. But I wouldn't.
I think
have
I
it
had
if
sent
it's different.
you a couple emails asking if you had anything else. Like, I didn't know if the plans changed or there was anything, and that's probably why.
So we're going to use that reduced 11 by 17 as the.
It did change though, because there was a deck on the one that was submitted with the application, there's a deck, there's a front deck that's gone now.
Well, that's,
Okay.
that's existing.
This
This
is,
is proposed.
I got you, okay. But that's different than this too, see?
I'm sorry, this is existing, that's proposed.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, at that first January meeting, it was,
yeah.
you had asked the applicant to kind of separate out the existing and proposed because the site plan was a little bit difficult to read,
Right.
to interpret, so
That's
that's,
what's on here,
okay.
yeah.
And then the plans that we have in the file are dated December 19th, 2022, from Doug.
Okay.
Make sure those-
So we have the correct exhibit.
Looks
We
like
move on
it.
to the next exhibit. I have, I just gave them back to you, and I'm going to take them back again. This is a set of floor plans and elevations of the proposed new house.
Is it, any revision dates?
This is dated 1/25/23.
So we don't have that. This is also 12/19/22.
She took
This
the
is the most recent. Doug, is there any change in the plan between what was
No,
originally
no,
submitted? No?
I
nothing.
mean, this is what you have there.
And this was submitted with that revised
I just
site.
want to see if, where's it? I just want to make sure it's, revisions are down here, right? I'm not seeing,
This has no revisions on it from the 19th of December. Okay, so this is, so applicants exhibit 2 are drawings by W. Douglas Gilpin Jr., architect, consisting of 2 pages of floor plans and elevations. Dated 12/19/22.
If you go to that, that's the, and this is proposed. So,
Okay.
proposed
And then
house,
Let's go.
my last exhibit, should have been included with the original application. This is photos of the existing structure, northeast on the first page, southwest on the second page.
Applicants exhibit 3 are existing photographs, 2 pages, 4 photos.
And my assumption is that you've all seen the electronic filing or versions of these and are generally familiar with what the existing house looks like and what the new house looks like. Doug, just a couple of questions for you about
yeah, there,
the old versus the new. So the existing foundation, that's actually a crawl space, correct?
About 1/4 of the building is has a cellar, about that high, and the rest of it's crawl space of roughly about a foot deep.
Okay, and that's consisting of field stone and cement for the most part?
Pretty much field stone, cement, a lot of dirt,
And the new foundation will be a poured
Poured
cement
concrete.
to modern standards.
yes.
All of the electrical that's in the current house, would you consider it to modern code?
The present, in the
In
present
the
house.
present house?
I think the electric panel is relatively recent. The majority of the wiring probably is 1950s.
Okay. In terms of.
Under, not to code.
In terms of mechanical infrastructure, if you will, heating, cooling, water, are almost all of the appliances older, not to code in terms of energy efficiency?
Cooling is via windows. There is no There's no fan forced heating at all in the house. There's no air conditioning in the house. It's basically a non-weatherized structure.
Okay. And in terms of insulation or
Nothing.
nothing like that? In terms of windows,
Some windows were replaced probably within the last 20 years. Still a few 1950s era windows in it. Pretty much everything is not to present code.
and did you give design consideration to keeping the house as low as possible, even though you're making the house more livable?
We did not, initially, we were looking at keeping the low first floor, but then going vertically on the second floor. The second floor is very impractical. But the more we looked at, if we have to go up and get a variance for the second floor, let's consider going up vertically on the first floor.
Yeah,
to-
and to clarify the question, in other words, you have up to 32 feet as a
Correct.
height
Correct.
limit in that zone. You've gone to approximately 28.
It's about 28 feet, that's correct, over existing grade.
Okay, so, and again, just to summarize, it's the plan to tear down completely the existing structure, pour a new foundation, and rebuild new, within the same footprint approximately, and approximately 100 square feet smaller than the existing structure.
Smaller footprint, yes, that's
And-
correct.
And the original structure, did it have 5 bedrooms, or does it have 5 bedrooms?
I believe it was 5 bedrooms offhand.
And the current, or the new building will have 4 bedrooms?
4.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Gilpin?
I did, yes. Well, first, I just want to point off, Atlas did have on their site plan here, they said their rear setback was 70.8 to the rear of the house, and it was not to the deck on that. Obviously, it'll still fit within the setback.
We don't need a variance from it. In other words,
Correct.
We're well
On the
within
rear.
50.
You're
We're beyond
within that
50 feet.
Right,
Yeah.
and then also the front on the application is different than what it is on the site plan, 13.6, 13.1, but,
Actually, there is a corner dimension from there to the corner of the house is 13.1.
oh, I see that, okay. But
And the rear deck is actually that's a terrace on grade, so it's not officially a structure,
okay.
so.
But my question is about the siting of the house.
Yes.
Since you're not utilizing the same foundation, why would you not push the house back into that rear setback?
Oh,
To
let me-
give
Let me
more-
answer, if
to-
I can.
Yeah, and instead of giving more room on the front to increase where that setback is. Because you're at 13.1 on the front and you're 70 in the back.
Yeah, there are some practical answers to that, which Doug could probably answer, but for legal reasons, we can't do it. We're going to get into this next with my next witness, but what we have on this property is 2 single-family dwellings on a single lot. And so it's considered a prior existing non-conforming use in terms of the overall property. We are, under the ordinance, not permitted to move any of those uses. So we're not actually able, without, asking for some other relief, able to move the houses anywhere else. I also discussed the physical question, and I think, Doug, you can speak a little bit to whether or not it would even be appropriate if it was lawful to do so. If we could move it, you can explain why that wouldn't be practical.
Here's the thing, as many of you know, I do a lot of historic preservation, and granted, we're not reconstructing an historic house, but I try to recognize the original historic site. So putting it where it presently is right now is, I think, an excellent location. It also, from the standpoint of views, from the first floor and especially the second floor, you're looking over and to the north, whereas sliding it back down to the south, those views are going to be blocked. You're going to be looking at the side of the hill. And probably most important thing is sheeting of water. You've got water coming down the hill. You have a house that's now acting like a big dam. I could see that there could be, with regards to water issues from the house standpoint. Might also be running into utility things. We get closer to the septic system, et cetera. And also, there is a little garage in the barn that Eric's going to talk about. And that access into that garage area would be compromised a little bit. Is that?
There's an existing garage or a shed,
It's
the other
a second structure.
Yeah, it's the garage
which is
apartment.
to be.
A garage on the first floor.
Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, before we let you go, the brick or stone porch, and same question for the stoop, and same question for the terrace, any of those, areas covered?
No.
None.
The one on the front, the brick or stone porch on the front, it is covered, and that's in the lot building calculations.
Is there a table somewhere that tells us which dimensions are in the lot coverage calculation?
From what
Sometimes they're
standpoint?
on the plans.
I think on the zoning plan review form, we listed the lot building coverage in that.
Okay, and it's broken down, you think, by these areas?
I could calculate that for you. I don't have it off the top of my.
Maybe I may be able to.
Doug, how much of so the building is now going to be 9 feet, is there, 9.5 feet taller?
I don't have my file with me.
It's okay, I
on
mean,
that.
it's 28 feet.
It's 28 feet.
Of that, let's say 9 feet that you're increasing the height, how much do you attribute to foundation, the new foundation, the first floor height, raising the ceiling, like how is that 9 feet spread out roughly?
It will be raised slightly from the first floor standpoint, because of windows required for the foundation. Also, just to get it above and siding away from the ground. The first floor, if memory serves me correct, will have 9-foot ceilings. The second floor will have an 8-foot ceiling, 8-foot pre-cut studs. And we were going with a clear span floor system, so that attributes to that. But the bottom line is we're about 4 feet below the 32-foot max.
Right. Judith, did you have further?
No, I just only see one number
For footprint
for footprint,
versus the broken down on what is what, you're looking like
yeah.
the compartmentalized?
1,112 square feet.
I guess get a little measure all the sections, but.
Right, but if it exceeds that and that's what you approve, then they don't get a building permit for whatever isn't identified. So it's their burden to make sure that they're submitting the
I
correct.
just find it helpful.
Yes,
to have it broken out.
I'm not finding it.
The,
But I'm gonna
the
keep
site
looking.
plan does have it broken down.
Can you pass that around?
Yeah, if you look at it,
Yeah, see, they haven't seen this.
it has it broken down, like the entryway is this size, and, I mean, it's not probably all you're looking for, but it might help you to
It's
see
just
that.
these, patio porch,
Yes, that has that,
Will get proposed. The other one didn't have that.
okay,
but they're all permeable. They're patios, not,
That's correct.
but one of them has.
One of them has a roof.
but this one has the one to the,
The one facing the road has a roof over it, and that's in the calculations.
okay.
What about the shower enclosure? That- and
They
then
don't
there's-
have that on the site plan.
It would have a permeable flooring.
And no roof. Always freaks me out. Always freaks me out, a roof on an outdoor shower.
Does it? Yeah, I know, it's, well, it never dries out either.
Oh, it's so
Never
gross
dries
though.
out
It's like,
either.
it's always just
Yeah.
mossy.
Yeah.
If there are no more questions, I can bring
Um,
Mark up and we can
Yeah, is everybody
continue on.
okay with Doug? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Doug. I'd like to call Mark Tilson, please.
No, it doesn't show.
Mark, Karen's gonna swear you in.
Good evening, Mr. Tilson. Could you raise your right hand?
Mark Tilson, Tillson.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during the course of this hearing?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Mark, can you tell me a little bit about what you do for a living now and what you used to do for a living?
Currently, I'm doing a lot of code consulting. As a matter of fact, doing zoning 101 with a lot of the large homes that have come in front of the board recently, working with the architects and the families, working with attorneys on different questions of the zoning ordinance, and then also testifying when necessary as an expert witness.
You are familiar with the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan, are you?
Yes.
And of course, with your work with the town, you were quite often referring to it.
Yes.
Testimony on perhaps the other side of this.
Yes, as most of you know, I was employed by the town of New Shoreham for 32 years as the town's building official, zoning official, electrical inspector, plumbing inspector, blah, blah, blah. Held a lot of positions in the town, so I am well-versed in the building code, the zoning code, and generally familiar with all of the other environmental codes that the town enforces.
Are you familiar with this subject properly?
Yes, I visited the site 4 days ago.
Can you describe the building we're talking about and also the uses on the property in general?
Certainly. Again, I'm very familiar with the island, and I'm familiar with that property, as over the years, a lot of renovations were done to the property. Not really renovations, but repairs, constantly fixing window leaks, roofing leaks, siding one portion of the building. It was a lot of piecemeal work done in the house just to keep it weather tight. The old house is in disrepair. In fact, my recent visit, I did go into the area that Doug Gilpin described as the cellar. And while I was in there, I was just thinking to myself, I can't wait to get out. It's in very poor condition. Again, it's an 1860 Block Island home that was built with whatever lumber they could get off the beach. It's a rubble foundation that's been leaking. The electrical system is in really poor condition, other than a new electrical panel, but all the wiring feeding into it needs a lot of work. The other building on the property was built, again, I can't remember exactly the date, but it is a newer post and beam building. It has a garage, storage area, utility area on the first floor, and a dwelling unit on the second floor, an apartment, if you will.
And we previously worked together on an affidavit that we submitted to obtain a zoning certificate. At the application stage, you had asked for that. I don't know if that has come in yet.
Yes, we have, yeah, we'll mark the zoning certificate, which basically states that the property is located in the town of New Shoreham, Rhode Island, and is designated as Lot 115 on Assessor's Plat 8 in the office of the tax assessor of the town of New Shoreham. I hereby certify that, one, the property is zoned residential A, the property is a lawful prior existing non-conforming lot of record, the property has a lawful prior existing non-conforming single-family dwelling use and second single-family dwelling use located in the structure commonly known as the barn. Then it goes on to list the items that were, 12 items that were reviewed to come to that determination, and it's signed by Jennifer Brading, zoning official, the 26th of July, 2023. So that's exhibit 5? 4?
Let me just double check.
Yeah, because the pictures were the last one.
So four. Yeah.
And in reviewing the project, in your opinion, has the applicant requested the necessary variances to complete the tear down and reconstruction?
Yes.
And in your opinion, is this an expansion of a non-conforming use?
No, it's actually a little bit smaller.
I just have a couple of general questions for you that we ask almost in every case. The hardship that the applicant is seeking relief from, is that due to the unique characteristics of the subject property?
Yes.
And in your opinion, is it due to any physical or economic hardship they might be suffering?
No.
And is this hardship due to any prior action, due to any prior action of the applicant?
No.
And do you think that, in your opinion, this project is intended to realize greater financial gain for the applicant?
No.
Will this reconstruction alter the general characteristics of the surrounding property or impair the purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan?
It'd be my opinion, no. And I'd just like to add that the design of the house is keeping with New England shapes, and the post and beam barn also fits in well.
And in your opinion, is this the least relief necessary to relieve the hardship?
Yes.
And in your opinion, would the applicant suffer more than a mere inconvenience if they were not able to complete this project?
Yes.
I have no further questions for.
I have a question for Mark. You stated that it's not an expansion of a non-conforming use, but wouldn't you consider the expansion of the second floor to, to that a full story, as opposed to a half story, as an expansion?
No.
Why?
The expansion of the use would be adding
for
an
the use.
additional single-family
Okay.
dwelling. The use is the two single-family
Gotcha.
dwellings. The volume or size has nothing to do with the
Gotcha.
use.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
He said it better than the ordinance said. But the ordinance does say, you can make alterations provided the number of square feet of floor area devoted to the non-conforming use is not increased.
What about non-conforming, dimensions?
But it's, yeah, that's, they are,
That's the.
They are.
that's the variance.
That's the variance.
Right, okay. Any other questions for Mark?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think they've both done a terrific job, and I hope you agree. I have nothing else to add except to say we'd love to have.
Do we have any butter? You still have one? I didn't see anything in
I
there.
don't believe so. I did have a number of calls, but I don't think anyone submitted a letter. Just want to double check.
This is a public hearing. If anybody in the audience has any questions or statements, now is the time.
I don't find any letters.
All right, well, we'll take this under advisement. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. All right, so that's it for the evening. We need to kind of go over the different hearings that we heard, how people are feeling about Haltraline.
No, we kind of already decided.
Right. But we still have to write the decision.
Right.
I mean, I'm happy to write the decision.
That's a fun one.
You want to write it? Oh, that'd be great. And then,
Do you have a consensus on that?
do we have a consensus of support? Okay.
Yes.
And then,
Oh, there is a question that we need consensus on. Are there two special use permits?
no, I think they just,
Yes.
That would be a question for the solicitor.
yeah, Karen?
Judith, could you just speak into the mic for me?
I think you need to move it closer because it's, top back, yeah.
Well, you do have to have,
I think there are two.
Well, we've been talking about it being a special use permit on a special use permit.
Right.
And so do we have to deny the special use permit for the first part and then approve the special use permit for the second part?
That's a great question. I think, given the fact that if you are interpreting the ordinance to mean that there are two sections, each requiring a special use permit, then my advice would be to approve it separately. One under D1, one under D2.
So both, right, you're gonna write it, make a motion to approve section 513, the D1, and then I make a motion, and to approve
And
section
with full
D2.
findings for each?
For each one, or just, do we have to write
You can combine the findings.
combined findings?
As long as there's findings, both as to the special use permit up to 1,500. And then I believe I think there's an additional finding under D2 you have to make as well. As long as all of those are made, that's fine.
I'll run the draft
You'll have
by
to have
Karen.
both, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
With
Um,
that,
yep.
the planning board mentioned that they did not approve the stormwater
They,
stuff, right?
Right, they said that they had to come back.
they had to come back to them with that.
We don't need to worry
That's
about
not our issue. No. Then you guys have Gumkowski? No, we didn't have that, sorry.
didn't have
Kenny, excuse me, Kenny.
Kenny?
No
Yeah.
problem, I have no problem with that.
I'm saying, yeah.
And then Moskowitz, how's everybody feeling about that? It's pretty similar to what you guys heard down the net. I haven't written anything in a while, I'll write that.
You already was, let you one.
No, I'm not, Judith grabbed it
That's
from
what
me.
Judy got, okay. I was gonna say two.
Okay. Okay, we have approval of minutes from the 28th,
2 cents.
two sets.
June 28th and
May.
July 19th.
No, yeah,
I'll move to approve the minutes for the June 28th.
I'll second that. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 19th, or
Second.
June, no, whatever the other one was.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye,
Yeah.
aye, aye.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do you need yellow to approve?
It was on 2 sets.
Oh, there was two of them motion for that, sorry.